Welcome to the AR Curious podcast. I'm Doug from Reptilia.
I'm Brent from SOFLETE.
Brent and I have been friends for about 15 years. We have owned a company together. We've done a whole bunch of stuff, and we were talking recently about how our passions are things that we constantly talk to other people about, but we haven't been running a podcast to share a lot of that information on a broader scale for a while. So we talked about what the format should look like, and we decided we were going to do a podcast, which we only decided to name
Today.
Yeah. But when we were talking about doing the podcast, Brent was like, hey, I think that there's a lot of people out there who are AR curious about, Armalite rifles, not assault rifles, and guns in general, and a whole variety of other things that kind of relate to freedom topics. And we kind of want to talk about that.
Yeah, I think what you've seen in the information space is people are going really deep, which is great, but they're missing a lot of the conversation around ARs that are kind of like leaving people behind, if that makes sense.
Well, I feel like a lot of people based on like media coverage are scared of the idea of an AR.
Yeah, this is definitely going to get censored because it's the AR Curious podcast. At some point, whether that's a change of administration, whatever, this is totally going to get
I want to view
pushed to the side.
This as as a fairly apolitical discussion for us. I mean, like, we both have our opinions, but like in the grand scheme of things, the idea of freedom to me is party agnostic. Like, I know that people have like
I think the
issues.
conversations can be I think the whole thing can be party agnostic. I think whether you like it or not, I really don't like it. You're either in conversation around policy and politics or you're observing that, but no matter what, you have to live through it. And so it's really hard to just ignore politics for me entirely at this point.
And I love to talk about politics. Like, I'm a poli-sci, degree holder, and that's kind of a thing that's always been interesting to me professionally as well.
Right.
So like, there are things that we'll obviously talk about that are political, but I think that in the space of ARs, a modern sporting rifle has been highly politicized as a purely right tool. Like, people on the right are shooting these guns and they're scary. And like, over the last 20 years, I've taken a lot of people out shooting that weren't firearms enthusiasts.
Yeah.
And they've had a good time. They've enjoyed themselves. They've learned things. And whether or not they want to shoot on their own has been kind of up in the air. I don't try to force it on them, but they've enjoyed the time. And I think that, honestly, from my perspective, one of the greatest failings of our generation is that we have taken what I think is our national sport, which is shooting.
It is.
And, and we've made shooting into something that is representative of an ideologue, instead of looking at it as something that is a base skill that everybody should have.
Yeah.
Like, everyone should be familiar with firearms. Everyone should know how to chop wood. Everyone should, tools should be used as tools.
Well, and I think that was the design intentionally. Like, we have, our topics are on the whiteboard over there. We have the Second Amendment and freedom as those topics. And I think that the left often forgets that the Second Amendment is there so that if the government is doing things that you find so egregious, you then have the tools to push back.
People hate that discussion, though. They're like, what are you going to do about tanks and F-35s?
Yeah, they hate the discussion, but I think people forget that also does apply to the left. Yep. And so if we I really like to take a step back and just look at the landscape and go, okay, well, yeah, we think it only applies to us, or people think it only applies to them, but it applies to everybody. And so the idea was that whoever controls this has the monopoly on, or the control of violence, who can do the most violence is going to then win. And when you have one group that has a monopoly on violence, that typically ends up being the government, right? The people that, the government monopolizes violence. They're the only people allowed to perpetrate it in reality. And that's who's in power. And that's actually what the AR-15 is for. The uncomfortable truth is that if you're on the side of the aisle that decides they're not going to do that, or not do it as well, you're going to lose to the side of the islands in that format, if that makes sense.
And it's funny, right? Because one of the central arguments in support of ownership of ARs is in common use. And when we talk about the way that the Constitution was written, a lot of people are like, well, that was muskets. It was like Kentucky rifles. That was the AR-15 of the Founding Fathers. It was the most accurate, most advanced weapon on the battlefield. it may not have been a weapon of mass fire, like it wasn't a volley fire weapon because
Right.
it took too long to reload, but it was in fact a cutting edge high technology rifle. And so when we look now, like we've come a long way in technology, and the modern sporting rifle is still, it's today's Kentucky rifle.
It is. What's interesting to me is like you hear modern sporting rifle, and I've had friends that are like, "Don't fucking call it that. It's not a hunting rifle." I'm like, dude, I've killed a bunch of animals with AR-15s.
I actually like hunting with ARs more than I like hunting with bolt guns.
It's just a really great platform, and so I want to be clear when we say it's a modern sporting rifle, it's because it does all of these things. We're not trying to neuter the Second Amendment in any regard. It's the fact that the AR is a great platform. If you were going to have one firearm,
And that brings us into a totally different
I would
subject.
say that's what it's going to be. It's going to be an AR-15.
And I think one of the neat things about the AR is its interchangeability. So like hypothetically, let's pretend that there's only one gun.
Well, let's back
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
I want to back up. You brought up an idea right before we had a failed start of like, how'd you become AR curious?
Yeah, how did you become AR curious?
Oh man, I was going to let you go first.
Oh, well.
So for me, it was, you know, a lot of people forget that ARs are a relatively new thing for civilians, meaning like when we were kids.
grew up in the band.
We grew up in the band, right? So there weren't like, ARs were not as prevalent. For those who don't know, the AR-15 is the number one rifle in America. Number one firearm, actually, in America is the AR-15, like by volume. And that was not the case growing up. So when I was in community college after high school, I was working at a BMW dealership, and one of the techs that I rode dirt bikes with was like a gun, like stereotypical gun nut collector guy.
Yeah.
And he had an AR-15, and it was like, he pulled that thing out, and I was like, that's a fucking M16, dude. Like, it'll rip your arm off if you get, you know, shot with it type. Like, I had no clue. And so that, I was like, you can have that? He's like, yeah, dude, you could just go buy one, right?
But I mean, I'm assuming that the one that he had was a featureless rifle. Like
It was,
from,
yeah,
from
it
the
was,
90s. So you had
it was like an A2. It was like
naked
carry
barrel,
handle.
Carry handle, yeah. And that's
Yeah.
like, that was my first AR too, because
Yeah.
that was like what the law was and what you could have at
Right.
the time. But I mean, I remember saving my money for like months.
Oh,
to
when
buy
did
my
when did
first
you
AR.
buy your first one?
I think I bought my first, I don't have a memory of what my first AR purchase was. My first big gun
Interesting.
purchase was a Remington PSS.
Okay.
I bought a 308 police version bolt gun and put a Springfield Armory scope on it. And I mean, I thought that, I saved for a while. It was like my first big paycheck when I was in the oil field.
Yeah.
But I had an AR when I was probably, I think I turned 18, and I'd been going to gun shows for a few years because it was like this forbidden place you went, and there was all these cool
Dude, when's the last
things.
time you went to a gun show?
I couldn't imagine going to one now because I remember who was at them when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I remember it was like a Libertarian Party convention, which I mean,
There was always like a weird dude who had too much Nazi paraphernalia.
Way too much
to
Nazi
just be like,
paraphernalia.
this is a neat thing from the war.
there was always the book. There's always like the book dealer who had all of the publications that were like, you can't get these at the library,
Yeah.
like Anarchist Cookbook, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
There was all kinds of like weird, like cheap gear, a lot of used guns that were in questionable condition, and a lot of people wandering around that were really weird.
Yeah.
And there was always the VCR with the Hellfire Trigger chicks, where they had like they were like in American flag bikinis shooting fully automatic MAC-10s, and I was just like, this is so cool. Like as a kid, I was like, this is
Yeah.
just the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
And I would like go and look at a bunch of guns I couldn't afford, you know, like at that point, I became AR curious because of movies, obviously. Like,
Yeah.
you know, 80s action films, just like guns are cool. And living in Texas, like
You thought the dumbest guns were cool when you were
man.
a kid too. Like,
Styrog.
yeah, a Mac 10. Like,
To be fair, I'm 44 and I really
Uzis.
want a MAC-10.
yeah.
I want like a fully automatic suppressed MAC-10. Maybe I would trade in all my guns for one of those at this point, just because
How many guns do you have? Do you have any idea what the number is?
I feel like gun ownership, especially as a gun enthusiast,
More than 50.
is not anymore. So,
Okay.
and that's kind of one of those things. Like I feel like there's a path you go down.
Like a bell curve almost?
Yeah, like when you talk, like Jeff Cooper is like, beware of the man with one rifle.
Yeah,
like and he knows
100%.
how to use his one rifle, right? And I
Absolutely.
get that. But so there's a guy that'll have one rifle and uses it for everything, usually in a very weird wildcat caliber, because he's not doing he's not doing flat range like mass fire training.
Yeah.
Some guys are with one gun, but most guys that are doing flat range training will have a backup gun because they use it so much that they want to have something to switch to. And then you have like collectors that are going to have, they're just going to keep buying guns. They're never getting rid of one. Like they see them as like a extension of themselves. Like there's some emotional connection to every gun, and they never want to get rid of them.
Yeah.
And I've never been that guy, but there have been times where my gun collection has surged to close to 100 guns, and I never shoot them. Like I probably have 30 guns now.
Do you have like the mainstays that you always gravitate to?
Yeah, there'll be a gun that I use for a period. Like my range guns, like what I'm using on a flat range for training, I'll have a gun that's like my favorite gun at that time that I built out for a specific purpose, and I'll shoot it for a long time. And then I might stumble into another version of a similar thing, and I'll change maybe the trigger or the handrail, but like the gun is fundamentally the same. It's going to be like a 13.7 to 14.5 inch AR-15 chambered in 5.56, just a standard work gun. I used to have red dots on all my guns that I used, and I've kind of migrated away from that into a low power variable optic just because I feel it has more versatility for picking up longer range shots, because not everything is a 25 meter engagement. So like for target identification, seeing what I'm doing, actually spotting where I'm hitting on paper, I like having some variable power. But I have a bunch of other guns that are for other things. Like I just got into 6-ARC, which is high performance, like, you know, it's a really weird kind of hot rod caliber for a small, like, not to get into too many details, but it's a very long range.
It's a long range AR-15 caliber specifically.
It's very cool. And like I use that to shoot out to like 1,300 meters. And that's a really long shot out of a small, like a small frame AR.
And it's killing things at 1,300.
Yeah, and 6-ARC has so many different bullet weights. So like when we talk about what a gun does, like when we have 5.56 guns, it used to be that we only would shoot 55 grain or 77 grain. And they were both pretty much match ammo, and you know,
or 70 grain,
Well, so we went to 70 grain. So now TSX came out, and we have like a lot more variety in what's available in 5.56. So 5.56 became a more versatile platform.
Well, and I think the modern bullets made the platform even more versatile and took out a lot of the old arguments of,
when we
5.56 pokes hole. Like I remember we had the hog hunt, and we banned 5.56 at the hog hunt for.
But I smoked like 15 hogs in Florida with a 5.56
recently,
gun.
with modern ammunition.
With modern ammunition, 70 grain TSX, one shot down every time.
So, and I have two. I just did a hog hunt in Texas with Pedro, and he's from Spain, big bow hunter, and he was like, dude, we're going bow hunting in Texas. Can you bring night vision and an AR and do like a Texas, only Texas are we going to do that typically. You know, I think that's the international mindset.
Did
is like,
take care of you for that?
Yeah, definitely. So we had lasers, nods, ARs. I'm driving the side by side. And I think every pig was like 1 or 2 shots that he killed.
Well, it's kind of interesting to me because when we started this, like when we talk about how did you become AR curious, like when we got our first ARs, 20 years ago-ish, somewhere in there, an AR was like a 4 MOA gun. So to say, like if I was going to shoot at 100 yards with M193 ball, like standard Army issue ammo, I was going to get a 4-inch group out of my gun no matter what. Like I could buy a match, like a national match AR, and I might bring it down to 3 or 2, but like you had to spend a lot of money on a 5.56 gun to get it down into like an actual accurate-ish rifle. 20 years later, like every gun that we will talk about on the show is going to be at least...
It's a 1 MOA gun.
At least 2. Like on some like pencil barrels that are like whatever, but like every rifle that like I'm looking at that's here in front of us is a half-minute gun. Like a half-inch group at 100 yards, pretty much without...
With good ammo.
And without much effort, you know what I mean? Like, so, and that's kind of the industry standard. Like I watched Mike from Sons of Liberty Gunworks he started doing 30-round groups now. And like...
Oh, wow.
For us, we've always done like
Either threes or
we
fives.
say fives.
Depends who's paying for the ammo.
Yeah, and and how accurate you want your group to be. Like, if I really care about an accurate group, I'm probably shooting a 3-round group because I want to be able to brag how accurate it is. But when I go to 5, I'll probably have a flyer of some kind.
Yeah.
But like Mike shot 30-round group that was like sub 2 minutes at 100 with a work gun.
Yeah, an
like
off-the-shelf work gun.
Off-the-shelf work gun, no crazy custom tuning. So like we've come so far in machine tolerances and ammo quality that like we have a very different experience with an off-the-shelf AR.
Well, I think now too, people realize that the AR, when you build it, you identify what you want the system to do, right? And so there's all these really great terminologies people slap on, like a recce build, a CQB build, a general purpose rifle, blah, 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 blah. As we get into it, I'd love to walk through what those mean, but now I think all of us go into it thinking, okay, there's some foregone conclusions. It used to be that you had to pick reliable or accurate. Like if you wanted a really reliable gun, it probably wasn't going to be super accurate.
The 1911 conundrum.
Yeah, it was like the 1911 conundrum.
The more accurate it gets, the less reliable it gets because the tolerances are so tight that when it starts to get dirty, it's going to start malfunctioning.
Exactly, yeah. And so you had that, and then whether it was machining tolerances changing or education or ammo getting better or probably a little bit of all of that, now like 100% reliability is a must-have. 1 MOA or better is a must-have. It's not arguable. And not insanely heavy is a must-have. And so those,
when you
it
start
used
to get
to be
into
like,
weight, you start to spend a lot of money trying to save weight.
yeah, to not save a ton, right?
Yep.
But like a basic, anything that's laying around here is it's a much lighter rifle than like we hauled around for years, right? Where you have, a quad rail system.
Well, I remember when I tried to build that ultralight rifle, the rule of thumb was like, I think anything under 6 pounds was $100 an ounce.
Oh, God.
As you start to like shave weight. And I was laughing because here at Reptilia, we're looking at releasing some guns this year, and we put together kind of like a test of what we were doing, and like it was 5 pounds on the nose, naked, and I was like, holy crap!
Yeah.
Like, how did we get?
And
to...
not a crazy Gucci
No,
build, like no carbon barrel probably.
It has a carbon barrel.
It has a carbon barrel.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Wait, dude, I mean, I'm such a firm believer in what John Beagle's doing at Helix 6 that I don't think I'm ever going to not put a Helix 6 barrel in anything I ever build ever again.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I mean, it's a bit expensive, but like it's a buy once, cry once. And I mean, I know that like we talk about barrels wearing out, like, oh, I mean, that used to be the
Nobody
argument.
shoots enough for barrels to wear out.
No,
like, very few people.
Very
shoot
few people
enough.
do, and especially in 5.56 because the chamber pressures.
It's expensive too.
Well, you're just not wearing them out. No. Like you would. I mean, if we were talking about some like super high pressure wildcat gun at super high velocities, yeah, you're gonna wear the barrel out.
Yeah.
Fairly regularly, but like on an AR, I mean, I've rebarreled probably 3 of my ARs over the years, and it was never because I was keyholing. Like, I never got to the point where I'd shot the barrel out.
So why'd you rebarrel it? You just wanted to try a new barrel?
Change the gun build, or I got a new barrel that I was like, I've got like 20,000 rounds on this. Maybe it's time.
So I'm going to add, so we have collectors of guns. We have guys who are hardcore into training that are like almost anti-collector in reality. And then you have people that are just hunters. Like, they're really not training. They're kind of like pulling it off the shelf, making sure it's ready to go.
And this is a big shift for the hunting community is like, when do you leave your 30-30 lever gun or your Winchester Model 70 and pick up a gas-operated AR-15?
First of all, you never leave the Winchester Model 70.
I'm a tinkerer.
Yeah, so the tinker, I think, is this underrepresented class of, maybe that's the gun enthusiast is what that's being
adult
called.
Legos.
Yeah, it's adult Legos, right? And the AR is a great platform for it because
I have a flashlight on this gun, and it does everything I want it to do, but this company, Reptilia, just released a flashlight body that mounts differently, and I feel like it's more like aesthetically in line and more useful because it doesn't rotate like my standard Surefire mount. So I'm going to spend $300 on a flashlight body and bolt it on because I think it's more useful for me.
Yeah.
Was it necessary? Probably not. But is it an improvement in what I like? If I'm using it all the time and it's more ergonomically sound, I'm going to tinker.
Yeah, so I joined a range. It's like a sporting club or something, 20 minutes from my house. For starters, huge pain in the ass to join because you have to go through like their
NRA certification.
Yeah, like their training and all the bullshit. but also very accessible. I think it's like $150 a year or something.
Mine's $150 a year too.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
cheap. Those don't exist tons of places, right? Like we're in the rural-ish Carolinas or suburbs of big cities in the Carolinas, and so that's a thing.
It's a different. It's very weird to me too, because like the incidence of ranges I hate is actually higher in rural America as well. Like indoor ranges that are like 15 meters in length,
Yeah.
full of people who are fairly unsafe with guns.
Yeah.
I don't love going to those ranges. I don't like the overpressure from a bunch of people shooting like large caliber guns around me. I get why people don't like to go, especially people who don't know about guns.
Well, you also have like a weird position of power and authority with, let's call it like the old guard NRA guys, where you walk in the gun store and the guy's like kind of a dickhead, right? Or he's like, oh, you're a chick, here's your pink 38 special. And you're like, dude, this guy doesn't know shit about shooting or guns.
No, and I mean, the last time I went to an indoor range, I took Heather to an indoor range because she wanted to shoot, and it was in Greenville, South Carolina. There are 3 indoor ranges within 10 minutes of her house. It's insane to me.
Yeah.
We go to one because she wanted to go, and I was like, fine. And of course, I had like a Q-Fix and 8.6, built range 5.56 gun, and like a Glock 19. And I went in there, and we were just kind of like doing a few things. I was kind of showing her what like holdover, like some things you can do at a 15-meter range.
Yeah.
And there was a family to the right of me where there was a guy who was clearly a gun. He would probably fit into tinkerer / enthusiast.
He was
category.
AR curious.
Yeah, he was more than AR curious. He had
Yeah.
he had a fairly nice MCX, like a SIG
Okay,
MCX.
yeah.
Like it was, but it wasn't suppressed, and he had his mother there, and was trying to get her to shoot. And like every single time that it was firing, it was just massive concussion, and you could tell she was just like overwhelmed, overstimulated, wasn't really happy to be there. And he got her to shoot it once, and she was like, okay, that's good, I'm done. And I was like, hey, come over here. And I was like,
Shoot this.
do you want to shoot this thing?
Yeah.
And like, you know, it looks scary because it's it's a 8.6 fix, you know, like it's a kind of a daunting gun with a big scope on it. And I was like, but it's suppressed. And like, I don't think that she was ready for how little recoil and how quiet it was.
How soft it was.
And so she shot once, and she was like, can I shoot it again? And
Yeah.
I'm like, absolutely. And I was like talking her through like, here's where the safety is. Like basically, like this is what the source of feed. Like we did a whole quick function. Like this is what's going on here. This is what you need to do. This is where you need to put the buttstock and how you should hold the handle. And when it was over, she was like, I really appreciate you taking the time. And I'm like, I think more people would be open to shooting if the shooting community was more in that vein, where it's like, hey,
sure.
How much do you know about this? Like, not to talk down to you, but would
This
you
is
feel more
my-
comfortable if you had somebody show you how to do this, and put somebody on a 22 first?
Yep.
Don't like just give them the biggest gun that there is and like laugh when they flinch
Yeah.
at the recoil. You're setting up tons of like bad mentalities.
I think every sport has this, or hobby has this as well, where these people that have typically a low level of experience, though they do have experience, try to like lord over those with zero experience.
Yep.
In USPSA, it still is pretty heinous, in my opinion. Like,
Actually, I love USPSA.
I do too.
But it's because I have I know this will come as a surprise to anyone who knows me and watches this podcast, but I have a very low ego when it comes to shooting. So
Yeah.
like when I go to USPSA matches, I expect to be losing badly.
You also go places where it's a high degree of competency and a very low degree of douchebaggery.
So
Like you go shoot
Yeah,
when
yeah.
you shoot.
And I literally look at the list of who I'm squatting with, and if I don't know the people, I'm choosing a squad based on the highest number of grandmasters
Yeah.
on the squad.
M's and GMs.
Not because I want to lose more, which I will,
Yeah.
but because I know that I'm not a threat to them. And when I ask for help, or if I don't know to ask for help, they'll help me.
Yeah. So here's my one. I'm like, I shoot USPSA. I love it. It's a blast. And I think it's one of the best shooting tools for anybody who wants to be competent with a firearm. My rub with USPSA is that it's off-putting because these guys try to make the rules of the sport and the technicality the way that they win. For example, this is years ago, I took a young Marine to his first USPSA event, and I told him about the safe box.
Yep.
You know, where the safe
You can
zone,
only handle
whatever the
your-
fuck it's
yep.
called. And I was like, hey, you can only handle your guns there. I forgot to mention you cannot handle ammo there. So he goes over there
To load magazines.
and he like puts his gun on and starts loading magazines, and a guy walks over and tries to DQ him. This is his first, like he hadn't gone
had
to
no idea.
sign up yet.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, hey man, that's on me. I brought him here. I sent him over there to put his gun in his holster. I should have also said, by the way, you can't, handle ammo in the safe zone or at the safe table, whatever the fuck that thing's called. And
Which is ironic because you can load magazines anywhere else, and it's
literally you can fuck
and
with
it,
ammo
like,
anywhere else. It doesn't make sense.
I think it
to
blows
people.
people's mind that like I have to be very safe in this space.
Yep.
But then when I'm anywhere
And
else,
then you can't touch your gun at all anywhere
Yeah.
else, right? So, which is fine. I get that there's rules, blah, 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 blah. So he starts arguing with me. He's trying to DQ this guy who hadn't even signed up yet. And so luckily I knew the owners of the range had their little admin trailer, and I walked over and kind of read him the riot act of like, this guy's new to the sport. If you're going to DQ somebody, DQ me, and I'll hang out and let this dude walk through. The owners of the range were like, I don't give a fuck. We're not DQing this guy because of this technicality. Basically told the guy to pound sand. But you see that quite often. I saw another one. This was great because I got to be the technicality weenie. A dude tried to, or he did stop a elderly lady. She's like in her 60s shooting a USPSA event.
Good for her.
Looked like she's dressed for tennis on a Sunday, like visor and everything. And she goes to do a reload on the move, and as the RO put it, almost breaks the 180 rule.
Well, then she didn't break
So
the
he
180
stops
rule.
her, and that was and it was, why'd you stop her? Well, she almost broke it. And it's like, no, this is a binary rule. She either broke it or she
Ones
didn't,
and zeros,
right?
dog.
Yeah, it's like,
If
did
it's
she break it or
181
did she not?
If it's 179 degrees, she didn't break it.
She didn't break it. You get to go to 179, right? You can almost point your gun at somebody and you're good. But it's like this weird technicality thing, right? Where you and I would probably err to the 181 side of things, where it's like, hey, was she safe? Was that pointed into the berm? Great. Let's not worry about it. But that is my rub with USPSA and the shooting
I
community
think
as a
most
whole.
game-related things become very rule-oriented, which is why when people ask me about how to learn how to shoot, I just tell people all the time, like, go shoot a USPSA match.
For sure. It's a great way.
Like, it's better than any instruction you will pay for. Like, the level of instruction, to speak to USPSA, the level of instruction in the gun community is highly variable.
Yes.
Finding a good shooting instructor is very difficult.
It actually is.
Because
yeah.
it's a super competitive market, because there's a very limited population that are interested in it.
Yeah.
And if you ask me, it's a race to the bottom on pricing, because people are trying to find the right price point to get more students.
Yep.
And so you have guys who are world-class shooters and instructors competing with guys who probably shouldn't own a gun. Both of them call themselves instructors, and they
Yeah.
are charging the same rate. And it's not like some other place where it's like, if I want to get music lessons from concerto pianist, I know I'm paying more for it. You
Right.
know, like,
Well, and there's an interesting difference too, where your shooting resume, like how good you are at shooting, certainly matters to some degree.
but teaching is the hard part.
Teaching is also a hard part, but I think there is a level, and then I think almost more importantly is what you're teaching and how you're teaching it is super important. And in other sports, people realize that. Like if you're not a top 100 in the world at jiu-jitsu and you're a brown belt, you can still teach. Like jiu-jitsu very much has a like blue belts teach the white belts,
There's a progression.
blah, 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 right? And in shooting, we haven't, the world in sport hasn't evolved to that. But culturally, I think the more we can get rid of the lording over people because you have slightly more experience than them,
Yep.
is going to blow the door off of, progressing the sport of it and more people owning firearms.
I think so too. I think it's the shooting world is daunting to people in a variety of ways.
Yeah.
Like the technical aspects, like we talked about a bunch of gun stuff. And people who don't know anything about guns, like even though we think we're like on the wave tops, we've dived into some more like deeper topics already, just
Yeah.
casually. It's why it's so funny when someone asks me like, well, what gun should I buy? And you're like,
loaded question.
what are you doing with it? And then
Yeah.
they say, like, I want to do everything. And you're kind of
Well,
like,
but that's also an incorrect question because it's really, these guns are all systems. Even a pistol now is becoming a system, right?
Yep.
So we did SOFLETE did a collab with Langdon Tactical on a Beretta, which
super sweet pistol.
it's so sick, dude. It is so I've shot, you know, those. I've shot CZ for years as a comp gun. I carried one for a while. I've carried them on deployments.
I think you and I probably had the exact same pistol collection over the years.
Yeah, it's
Or
very
really
similar.
close.
Yeah, there's a shitload of Glocks in there, right?
Yep.
And so we did this Beretta, and from the jump, I said, hey, I want a system. I want somebody that can literally buy it and buy a holster and call it a fucking day. And they were like, okay, like that's not typical, and I think we need to move everybody in that direction.
To SIG's credit, I think they've done a very good job of marketing systems.
Knights does a really great job, although it's got, you know, the $20,000, $30,000 price tag on it. But I think gun companies, SIG being one of them, need to start moving that to a system that's the weapon, the firearm, the gun, the optic, magazines, and the ammo.
One, and that's a funny thing too, right? Like I know when we first started shooting, like you could buy the best gun and it wouldn't run with magazine. Like you have to have
Certain
the right
magazines,
magazines to make it run.
certain ammo.
Yep.
Same with pistols.
And we don't really have that issue anymore. Like the Magpul mags, pretty much.
No, not with mags. Mags
solved
are
the
awesome
issue.
now,
Like,
yeah.
you know, when
Well, what they did is they set a standard. So if you're going to come out with a magazine now, if it is not as reliable and robust as a Magpul PMag, you're not in the conversation.
everyone's struggling,
Yeah.
like it's tough to keep up with them. They're so far ahead of the curve.
Yeah, dude, Magpul, I don't know if I'm supposed to know, but they are I know guys that work at Magpul and have for a long time. And so I kind of know their finances. Like nobody's touching them in the magazine game.
No,
like,
they're the Coke of magazines. Like,
and objectively they're a good company too. It's not like you're giving money somewhere where you're like, I don't want to support this cause, but I have to.
it's
like
been interesting
Amazon.
watching them progress over the years. Like, because I first met the dudes at Magpul in like 2007.
Yeah.
When I went to my ill-fated Orlando SHOT Show.
Yep.
Right before I failed out of course I was in, and I remember being like, these dudes are cool. Like they're doing cool
They
stuff.
were super cool, and they
Yeah.
were very supportive of. You know, at that point, the GWAT was firing. We thought we were late to the game in the GWAT. Turns out it was early GWAT.
I thought I missed the whole thing.
Yeah, you thought that. And I remember before my 2009-2010 deployment, somebody just reached out to him and was like, hey, we're about to deploy to Afghanistan. Is there
Didn't
any
have,
way
like,
we can
100
get
mags?
PMAG? Dude, they sent us a box that was like half the size of this couch full of PMAGs. I'm not exaggerating. It was like the biggest fucking box of PMAGs I've seen in my life.
That was back when we were still scrounging old USGI mags and hoping we had the best followers. And
Yeah,
stuff.
Or guys would put them together, and some units wouldn't let guys use PMAGs. So like, it's plastic. It's going to break when it gets cold, if you remember that. And I think some of them did in
They
the
had some
early
feed
days.
lip issues, I think, and they've gone through different iterations of like their formula. It's actually really cool working here at Reptilia because Eric was an early designer
Magpul guy.
at Magpul.
Yeah.
And like he's been in the industry so long that there's like all sorts of neat little niche facts that pop out. Where he's like, oh, when I was working on this project, and I'm like, you worked on that project? He's
Well,
like,
I can only imagine that they were changing such minutia at that point, like angles of feed lips, the radius of feed lips, the type of polymer that was used, the temperatures on the polymer.
and everybody else was doing metal reinforced feed lips.
Yep.
And they never did.
Yeah.
You know, like there's so much interesting stuff in the industry, like technically, which points to me being a tinkerer again, because that's like academically interesting to me. But I mean, I think the biggest hurdle is making this whole thing approachable to people and being like, hey, like, there's a lot of dudes who are tinkerers.
I think approachable and valuable.
Yeah.
Like when you have both of those, that's very challenging to do.
Well, and I think that like one of the things that we gloss over a lot, and one thing that we're familiar with because we have a fitness background, is the kind of brain-body connection, like the neuromuscular, like I'm gonna stumble around this like an idiot right now, but like when we talk about like, when we say, oh, kids these days, all they do is play video games. Well, they're actually developing like a lot of neuromuscular connection, like making things happen with small movements. And with shooting, a lot of body posture, a lot of breathing, a lot of like mindfulness is all part of the process to be good at it.
Yeah.
And reps count. Like the dudes who are good are dry firing. It's not about range
Every
time.
day.
Yeah, it's not range time.
Yeah.
It's repetitions, 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 and shaving fractions of seconds off and becoming more comfortable to the point where the tool is an extension of their body and they don't have to think about it. They're not making engagement. Their bandwidth of things that are bothering a normal person with a gun, like, hey, is the safety on or off? Did I press check? Am I being safe? Am I firing in the right direction? They don't think about any of that. It's all kind of like in the background.
Yeah.
And they're also not thinking about trigger squeeze, breathing, all the fundamentals of marksmanship. They're literally like, what is the target? How do I engage it? Do I engage or not?
Yeah.
And how do I do it the fastest possible?
What's interesting to me is, so there's like this, there's movement in practical shooting, and we'll call it tactical shooting for lack of a better term, pushing people to shoot matches, whether that's USPSA, IDPA. It's like, hey, unsanctioned local match, go compete.
It's problem solving.
It's great.
Yeah.
What was super interesting, I'm friends with Casey Eusebio,
Yeah.
who is, I don't think you can argue that he's the best pistol shooter in the world for practical shooting. He's done it more times than anybody.
And a very chill dude.
Super chill. But I was like texting him, which always is funny to me, like texting him on my way to a match, because I'm like, I suck at shooting compared to Casey.
Yeah.
And he's like, why are you shooting a local match? And I thought about it, I was like, dude, this motherfucker never goes and shoots a match. Like, he never shoots a match.
Nationals.
He just shows up at nationals. He shoots all the time, right?
Yep.
But there's, I think, levels to it. And what's interesting is, like, I spent the better part of this past spring shooting matches as a training thing. And what I was trying to do, you and I've talked about this, it's hard when you have a soft background in shooting to take your speed to a point that the wheels come off. And you kind of have to. You have to, like, you have to accept that you
I
need,
do it regularly.
you're great at it now, but you have to accept that you're not going to just shoot A zones.
Yep.
And now you're going to, make it uncomfortable and push your speed. And so I was doing that in matches, because what I would always do, I would train fast, and then in a match, I would shoot 75% or 80%. And then I'm like, fuck, man, I left so much speed on the table. So I started to, like, push it till the wheels came off and shoot lower percentages, made a fuckload of mistakes. And I think it's hard for a lot of guys to step outside
Lower percentages and accuracy, but a higher hit factor.
No, like, I was like full wheels coming off, trying to go fast, like treating every stage like it was a drill, like, and trying to push as fast as I could and fucking things up. Where I fucked up the most was in stage planning and, not stage planning necessarily, but forgetting my stage plan, like the buzzer goes.
And brain's dead.
And I'm like, oh shit. Like,
that's when I learned I
what
had
was
ADHD.
it? Yeah.
I was literally like, buzzer goes, brain shuts off, and it's just freaking lizard brain.
Yeah, lizard. Yeah. What I love about USPSA is that, like, it's for all the marbles every single time. Meaning, you see the guys that are going to shoot a drill and they're like, they get a bad draw and they're like, okay, let's reset, right? They do 9 takes.
Cold
on a camera.
Your first take is the only one that matters.
That's all you get in a USPSA, right?
So you have to world.
And all you get in the real world. So you have to work through the shitty reload, you misstep, you dropped a mag, whatever, like, you're either grabbing another mag or picking it up off the ground. Like, that's all very
just walking off.
Yeah, and you see that, I saw that at a go shoot where a dude literally quit. He was having a bad day and he quit.
Dude, go shoot's the worst example though, because Tilly's the man.
It is a gnarly match.
But like, the first time I ever went there, I was like, why is every stage so long? Like, because they're all national practice stages.
They're IPSC style field stages. So there's like hidden shit everywhere.
And it's, dude, his stage is like, I mean, I think I shoot 500 rounds plus when I go to his matches.
No.
Yeah, because I have a lot of thick. If it's Virginia count, I'm throwing
impressive.
A lot of rounds.
So what Doug's talking about is taking makeup shots.
Yep.
So you missed or had a Delta or a Charlie and you want an Alpha and you shoot again. But those, being able to put the ego aside and show up to those things and fail, like, hard, where you're like, dude, I'm a, gun-toting former soft guy, I've done this for X number of years, and you show up and you're like, cool, buddy, welcome to B class, or knocking on the door at A class, or whatever.
If you're even that good, you're
or
doing
C
well.
class. Your average soft guy's at
C or D class.
C or D class guy.
It's like it's interesting to me because it's like hunting too, right? Where, like, for long range marksmanship, where, like, you train all of these skills that lead up to the shot, but the shot is kind of the least consequential of the things that you're doing in the military.
Yeah.
Like where
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like movement matters, teamwork matters.
There's all these
technique
other
matters,
things to get to that.
and then you get to the shot, and it's like, okay, it was good enough.
Very much like hunting.
Yep.
So that's kind of what I wanted to say is when we look at bringing people into the fold that are AR curious, they're going to fall into different camps, right? They may want to do practical shooting with a 9mm AR, or they may want to go hunting with it.
Shoot steel challenge. There's a whole bunch of
There's
different
a ton.
options. Yep.
And different shit is different, right? Like if you're going to go shoot USPSA with a 9mm carbine, that's a very different.
It's the best way to do it.
Super fun, right?
Yeah.
And cheap, right? 9mm really cheap compared to 5.56. It's a very different type of shooting than the guy who's like, I want one AR so that I can hunt with it, defend my household, have it for the reason the Second Amendment exists. Like that's going to be my one gun. That guy needs to shoot the same in the defense part, but hunting shooting is very different, right? Like bone structure matters, breathing matters, trigger control matters. All of those things you can argue in practical shooting like USPSA, they don't fucking matter.
Well, they do, but they're at a level where you're not thinking about it anymore.
I think the argument is that they don't, right? So like grip negates trigger effectively.
Well,
in some
and
circles,
body
not all
position,
circles.
You shoot from any body position, but
Yeah.
the fundamentals are still there. Shooting off-footed and imbalanced, like that shooter still has a very strong body position. He's just
you'd argue that.
He has it for a fraction of a second. He
Fraction
knows
of
where
a
the split
second,
is.
and the volume of fire on one target in USPSA is very low. Like there's not bills drills in USPSA typically.
I guess they're
Typically.
for qualifiers.
Classifiers?
Yeah, classifiers.
Are there any
yeah.
classifiers that are a bills drill?
I don't know.
I don't think
I'm
there
not
are.
well versed enough to know because
There's like
much-
hundreds of classifiers now
Much
too.
like jiu-jitsu, I've been rolling for most of the last 20 years, and I'm still a white belt. And
Yeah.
it's the same with USPSA, where it's like
Still C-class hero.
No, dude, I shoot some B-class runs.
Yep.
But like I don't ever shoot enough to string together a classification. So like I'm still unclassified.
Oh, that's a great place to be though.
Dude, it's actually fun. And
One
I
of
don't
my
have to worry about
buddies, he's a shooting instructor for Aimpoint. He does like their transition courses for law enforcement. I've shot with him. I've known him since I've shot with him for a decade. Great shooter. I used to be better than him. We were both unclassed until this year because we would just infrequently hit
Yeah,
class
just go to
fire
a match
matches.
like 3 or 4 times a year.
Yeah, exactly. And which is, if you can do that while you're in a quote unquote tactical profession, it's great. But we both were like, hey, we're going to get classified this year. And he classified as M, like right out of the
Immediately?
gate. Yeah. I mean, he's
Good for
literally
him.
a pistol shooter for a living, right?
Yeah.
I don't even think he fucking dry fires ever. He's also one of those guys who's like super athletic and good at everything.
Wish I was one of those dudes.
But he was the same deal. He's like, dude, I'm unclassed until this last year. Showed up and made a concerted effort, classified as M in carry optics, with I think a bone stock Glock 47 or 17.
As it should be.
It's like bone stock with an Aimpoint acro on it.
Yep.
Like small window and all of that. But it goes to show, like, if you do put in the work over time, like you can potentially get there.
I think that it's always the thing that we're really battling here is the idea, especially in the 21st century, that doing things that people don't know how to do is scary. Like,
Yeah.
no one wants to embarrass themselves. And I think that like we're both lucky because we've been forced into situations where we were going to embarrass ourselves no matter how good we were, one way or another.
Right.
Surrounded by experts, wanting to impress them, knowing we're going to fail.
Yeah, every time.
And constantly being reminded that we were failing during that process. I mean, it's part of like how we grew up. And I think that there is a way forward outside of the environment that we grew up in the civilian world, where it's okay to embarrass yourself. Like, obviously we're comfortable with it. We know when it's going to happen and it doesn't hurt our feelings. But I think a lot of people see something they don't know how to do and they're afraid they're going to embarrass themselves in a way that they like can't come back from. And it's like, no, like no one expects you to be an expert.
Yeah.
No one expects you to win. People expect you to have some safety violations because you don't know what you're doing. I mean, like,
I would say if you're going to do one thing as you're getting into guns, don't point your gun at somebody.
100%.
And everybody's happy.
Yep.
Like if I am teaching somebody who's never touched a firearm how to shoot and I don't get a gun pointed at me that day, like that's a huge win. I don't even give a shit if they hit the target. I do care, but
Well, I mean,
that's a huge win.
and this goes back to the instructor piece too. Like we've both instructed a lot of like, I'm trying to think of the right word for this. A lot of very unteachable populations.
Yes.
All over the world.
Yes.
And so my threshold for weapon safety is in people I'm teaching is very low. Like I'm like, hey man, like if somebody is like very enthusiastic or asking a question and they flag me, I'm just gonna push the barrel out of the way and be like, hey, don't do that again.
Yeah.
And like I know that I've made it this far without getting shot by someone who doesn't know what they're doing, that I feel like I'm probably gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Like, but like I think that some instructors are very uncomfortable with the idea that they're gonna get accidentally
They're gonna
shot
get
by
flagged.
somebody.
Yeah.
And so it's hard when someone gets roasted for doing something that's genuinely dangerous. Like,
Yeah.
They probably deserve to be roasted. But for me, I'm like, calm down, because
It's
you're
50
excited, and I know you want to be here, and you want to answer this question that you have that in your head is like immediately important to you. But the most important thing is that you keep the muzzle pointed down range.
Well, I think there's two points to hit on there. You'll have guys that are like, no, you should chew that person's ass and make them feel like a piece of shit so they never do it again.
Yeah.
And that's one train of thought.
But then they're not coming back to shoot again, probably.
Well, that works when somebody has to shoot.
When it's their job.
Or if it's a personality type. When it's not that person, it's kind of like, with kids. If you chew their ass too much because they screwed something up, they're never willingly going to do that thing again, right? Unless they're super driven.
Because they don't want to be chewed out again.
No, they don't want to be chewed out again. So I think you have to just know the time and a place. If I take, I'm never somebody that's going to scream anyway. Like, you've probably never seen me, or maybe once seen me scream, maybe. Probably hit you.
Probably hit me.
I don't think that people respond to that typically very well, regardless, right? Especially when you have things like language barrier that we've had to work through, or a barrier of basic understanding of what they're even doing, right? And so I think you give them the physical and verbal correction of like, you grab the muzzle, you point that in a safe direction, you go, this goes only, straight at the target, straight at the ground, or straight in the air. It's like your 3 safe directions to point this thing at a base level. You give the correction, but I think if you calmly do that, that's kind of number one. Whereas you have these instructors that are like, that's their time to shine, to be like, I'm holier than thou because of my muzzle discipline.
Well, I think that we're in an interesting time too, because we're seeing, I don't think, no matter how you feel on the political spectrum about guns, it doesn't feel like in the next 4 years, there's going to be less proliferation of guns into the general population. And so like as guns are more prolific in America, I think that it is even more important for people who are uncomfortable with guns to become comfortable with them, because having a panic attack because you see someone with a gun or because someone is legally carrying or doing something around you, like that's not productive for anybody. And so it's like, hey, I think America's a gun culture. And I don't think
America is a gun culture.
It's not necessarily a toxic culture. It can be, depending on where you're at. But like in general, like I think that guns are just a tool. And because someone legally carries a tool in public isn't a reason for a freak out or anything else.
No, it's a right.
Yep.
Like, you have the right to have that firearm.
But I think that the reason people are uncomfortable in that situation is because they see the carrying of a gun as some sort of telegraphed message. Like, this person is conveying violence on me, which sometimes
it may be.
Sometimes
it
means
totally
that.
might be.
But making people comfortable with guns who are not currently comfortable with guns, and having them develop situational awareness, because there's a lot of situations I don't carry a gun. Like, I do not have a gun on me 24/7.
Yeah.
I know some people who do, but like
I will say you probably have
I have one around.
one around very often.
But I also don't look at that as the solution to 99% of the problems that are going on around me. Like, if I see a situation developing where I could use a gun to intercede, my first reaction is not to use a gun. My first reaction is usually, how am I leaving this situation with the people that I'm with? Like, this isn't something I want to be involved in.
You're not going to...
Yeah,
it's interesting how as you progress in life, like I made the comment on, it was like a video of a police officer getting their ass kicked and people were filming and then other people were like driving around the scene.
Not helping.
And I made the comment from SOFLETE's account, like all these people passed up their
Kona
free
skill.
opportunity to beat the shit out of somebody.
Yeah.
And I've done that. Did it in Pennsylvania. You have this opportunity to help somebody. Your calculus on that does in fact change when you have like your family with you, right?
Yep.
If I'm driving down the road solo and I see something happening and I can physically change the course of that interaction for the better, I'm highly likely to stop driving and change that interaction. If I have my family in the car, like
Probably not.
it's not so much a probably not, it's a different calculus,
Yep.
right? Like maybe I'm parking it, in a good place and then walking over, whatever it is, but it's a very different calculus.
But you're having this discussion in your head.
1000%.
You're weighing it out
Yeah.
and figuring out what you want to do. And I think a lot of people see things like this and
Well,
freeze.
they don't have an option.
Yeah.
Is what it is. Like I have the option to go change the course of what is taking place because I have an ability to monopolize violence. Most people don't.
What I find interesting about that discussion is that a lot of people who don't have a familiarity with violence view that mere statement
Yeah.
as a threat.
They think it's psychopathic.
Yeah, they're like, you're a psycho.
But
It's
violence, to me, words can't be violence.
like, yep.
Violence is a spectrum between me holding you in a way that doesn't even hurt to stop.
Preventing you from
Yeah,
causing
I've
problems.
monopolized
Yep.
it. It's mine to control. To rolling a safety and putting you in the ground from a distance. Like there's a spectrum there, and really on the spectrum, it goes far beyond rifles to bombs, explosives, blah 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 blah. And it's a spectrum, and people don't realize that they live in a monopoly of violence every single day,
The
and
world
that's why
is
it's safe.
a violent, volatile place. And what I feel like is people who don't have the ability to monopolize violence or control it in any capacity are the most afraid of nebulous violence. And they're also the most likely to become victims of someone else who is...
Yeah, they don't. It's not in their wheelhouse,
Yeah.
right? It's like have you seen that jiu-jitsu video? That's like one guy can hold you down, two can rape you.
Oh, Jesus.
I had that thought, and
It's
I
the-
was like, I'm working that into
It's
this
the entire
podcast.
jiu-jitsu mentality.
Yeah, it was
That's
like, dude, if
it's
one
all
guy
about
can hold-
sodomy. It's all about,
it was that whole
it's
video,
all
right?
about holding a guy down.
But it literally comes back at a base level of like, if that's not in your wheelhouse, you're at the whim of the people who it is in their wheelhouse.
And I think that people's attitudes in life change when they start to have control over those things. It's like, I don't want to badmouth
For the
Krav
better.
Maga too much, but like Krav
You want-
Maga is specifically geared towards soccer moms. And the reason they talk about violence so much in Krav Maga is because their target audience are people who are much less capable of exerting violence than
For sure.
than someone else.
Unless they have the tools, right?
Yeah, and so like it's like this whole you're gonna put your thumb in their eye, and you're like, okay, well that's gonna look really bad in court, like for everybody involved. It's not to say that you shouldn't, but maybe let's not go to 11 right off the bat. When you know,
From talking to like thumb in the eye.
I didn't like the way the guy talked to me, so I like went full ham and stuck my thumb in his eye, and you're like, yeah, the guy's blind, and he was just asking for directions to like the corner store.
Yeah.
But I think that like, even though I don't love Krav Maga, I appreciate that people who wouldn't have an understanding of physicality get that understanding through doing Krav Maga, unlike like Taekwondo, where it's a very different. It's a sport,
Yeah.
not combat.
Well, I do think too, when you make something too much of a sport and pull it away from being a martial art, then it's like that bell curve of counterproductivity, right?
Yep.
So jiu-jitsu, I think, is amazing. You and I both have done jiu-jitsu over the years. When jiu-jitsu becomes the point of doing jiu-jitsu, it becomes less productive as a martial art.
Well,
Meaning, if you've never thrown a punch or been punched or been in positions where you're trying to not get punched,
That's why Vale Tudo is still
a thing.
they're still a king.
Yeah. Like they're still a king of that, right?
Yeah.
So,
Doesn't
or
matter
the-
how good I am at jiu-jitsu, when I roll up and see a bunch of Brazilians with cauliflower ears, I am not at any point thinking that these are dudes that I'm going to roll with.
Well, and if they're Brazilians from Brazil doing jiu-jitsu, I love Alan Shabara's thing of like, it's not
It's not
Brazilian
Brazilian
jiu-jitsu,
jiu-jitsu.
it's jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
But if they're in Brazil doing jiu-jitsu, they're fucking punching each other. Like there are
dudes.
faces getting hit, right?
Yep.
And so one of my favorite places I ever was doing jiu-jitsu regularly was the lab in Scottsdale, and there were a ton of like UFC guys that came out of there. Not to say I was even close to one of them.
Their faces all look like mashed potatoes.
Well, we would slap each other. So like not even super hard, but if it was one of the guys that wanted to be there for the combatives side, because they had a whole combatives program as well. When we were doing jiu-jitsu, if somebody continued to play the game of jiu-jitsu and not be worried about position and other things, like you were fair game to like give a dude
It
more
motivates you.
insulting than anything slap,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's important to, again, and this comes back to the shooting world, of pull back some of the like rules, mythology, this understanding that somebody's going to play top and somebody's going to play bottom, pull that back for shooting sports. And in USPSA, that's important, right?
Yeah.
When you are going to push people there as a defensive sport, it's great. Compete, show up, be a competitor. I taught some law enforcement guys a course, it's probably a month ago now, and it was basically setting up mini stages. And one of the guys had been on SWAT, the other had done SWAT training, which I thought was an interesting way to put it. They said they'd never shot like that. Like moving and shooting and moving.
Really?
Moving while shooting in that way, going from like one position
Cover
to
to
the
cover.
next. Yeah, whatever
Yeah.
you want to call that, which was super interesting to me.
That is interesting. I mean, I think that training gaps exist everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, like when we were talking earlier about what the average shooting competency of a soft guy is, it's like the breadth of skills that are required in that community, especially the one that I came out of, are so broad that
Yeah.
you're like shocked at how bad a dude who supposedly is like, this is his trade. He's not very good at that thing, but he also has to focus on like language proficiency, technical proficiencies of his job, a bunch of other things that water down a regular training schedule.
Well, and
Some of that's on the end user, where it's like, this is an important skill, you need to work it, which I think that your background, you guys really hammered that one in super hard.
Yeah.
I've never run into anybody with your background who wasn't actually a fairly competent shooter.
I think the where I see it change largely, like each SOF unit, I think has a culture. Like I think NSW
Team, and it varies team to team.
Yeah, like NSW to me has a combatives culture that's unparalleled by the other services. But if you strip the culture away and look at it, military and law enforcement training from like at a brass tacks level, they have a very small amount of time to get. Time is the number one resource there to get somebody to be a good shooter. So if you stretch that timeline out, like the CQB package at MARSOC when I went through the operators course, I think was like 4 weeks, I want to say, roughly.
I wish we had that.
Yeah, you guys don't have it, but in 4 weeks you're teaching CQB, shooting pistols, and shooting rifles. That's a super condensed timeline.
Still a good window. I mean, that's what we packed
decent.
a cephalic into.
Yeah.
So, but the expectation is that the guy will learn that when he gets to a team.
For sure.
And then, like, op tempo means maybe you miss a window to go to a cephalic, and then you're the only dude on your team who hasn't been to cephalic, and you're a liability.
My point is, as a civilian or just a dude on their own time, you don't have a month to get good, right? I shot a match with a guy who I think was B class or about to qualify as B class, who had been shooting for only like 3 months.
But he's practicing every day.
He's practicing every
He's
day,
made it
and
his
he
focus.
started with USPSA. He had zero pistol shooting experience. I think he watched like a Ben Stoker video, Stager, however he says
Whatever you
it,
pronounce his name.
and was like, I'm going to do that. And then went and bought a rig and started shooting USPSA. And in 4 months, he got better than the average soft guy.
Yep.
But soft doesn't have 4 months to get a guy ready, right? You have a week of pistol, whatever. The other piece of that is we focus often on pistols because that's a big piece of sport. The AR is king in military application.
And frankly, that's like coming back to the whole like AR curious thing. Like, I think the most fundamental skill of shooting sport is shooting a carbine.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I think that I think that all of the marksmanship principles that apply to pistol shooting apply to shooting a carbine.
Well, I think there's more you can do with the carbine than a
And
pistol.
and easier to learn on a carbine
Yeah.
because a carbine's more forgiving. But what I find interesting is even though the carbine is more forgiving, because we've taught people how to shoot carbines at pistol ranges now, guys have lost the ability to engage middle distance targets.
Yeah.
So like the whole purpose of the platform has kind of been lost in the ether. And I hope we're coming back to that. I know from a civilian shooting standpoint, you can go to an indoor range. You can go to a short outdoor range a lot more easily than you can go find a range that has a 400-meter range. Dude, you could be like Grand Dragon, of the USPSA world, like the best shooter ever.
Yeah, you're a GM.
Yeah,
Yep.
shoot 1,000 rounds at 10 meters, and 999 of them are A-zone hits that all touch each other, and then there's going to be a D-zone somewhere in the 1,000 rounds from a GM where he's just going to throw around. It's black magic. Pistol shooting is black magic.
So here's where, taking your point of like the AR is easier to teach. One, I think it's more accessible to teach because your mistakes are amplified on a pistol and they're diminished on a rifle, right? It's easier to shoot a rifle. What's interesting to me about the AR platform specifically is you can take it short to long, and I would wager it's the only platform that can do those things really well with like one or two rifles.
One rifle, 25 meters to 900.
I would say 5 to 900 on one rifle.
Yeah, 5 to 900 with an AR and
Yep.
5.56, and you can make good solid hits. And it teaches people a lot. So I think that like this is a great place to start. It's not going and buying a defensive handgun or a shotgun for your house. The AR is the best place to start learning about shooting a gun.
Yeah, and I think when you progress, so the argument, and I've made this argument, and I still make this argument, when it comes to pistol distances that we do like to shoot rifles at, the pistol's the best training tool. Like if you're gonna spend 80% of your time shooting on one platform, I think the pistol is the platform when you're talking about getting good at short distances. The thing is, that doesn't apply to all shooting. And like your point with this middle engagement is like kind of lost. The middle engagement is where, one, the AR shines, but two, in actual conflict, I think if you just looked at conflict as a whole the last 60 years, middle engagement's gotta be the majority of the
People don't typically look past 100 meters anyway. So like
in combat or in like general?
In most of the conflicts we see, like when you see people shooting each other in the streets, like during civil unrest, they're not looking past 100 meters. They're like looking down a street. They're cover to cover. They're taking fire from somewhere. They're like maneuvering to a structure to overthrow a parliament or whatever it is that they're engaged in. I mean, it's why you see like the guys with bows.
Well, so defensive shooting is going to be really short, right?
Yep.
That's going to be like 10 meters and in.
Yep.
Really,
Everything else is offensive.
Yeah, that's arguable. Everything else is offensive. But in like a war scenario, civil unrest, the beauty of being able to shoot 100, 200 to 900
Standoff, baby.
is standoff, right? Like now this engagement, as I like to say, is happening on your terms, and it's a very different engagement.
Why the AR is better than the AK. Because we have a more accurate platform and we can keep...
There's a shitload of reasons the AR is better
but
than
like
the AK.
from a just a standard, like a best use case, like I think that the AR is capable of engaging point targets at a more extended range than the AK.
The AR is more capable.
Yeah, the
than
AR
AK.
is.
Yeah.
And therefore it gives us an advantage over our opponent who are
100%.
using a comm block weapon.
Well, I think what's also important is like...
Ammo tolerances.
not ammo tolerance, but... the ability to shoot that rifle accurately and in practice. And so like in archery, we have this argument all the time over, heavier arrow versus more softball trajectory, lighter arrow, more laser beam. Rifles, we have it too, but I don't think it's talked about enough because people are typically shooting the same calibers. It's 5.56, 9mm, 308. That's going to account for most of the ARs out there. When you start putting like 6.5 Creedmoor in there, where you're like, hey man, you're not really super worried about a holdover till 400 meters.
Yep.
That's a game changer.
6 arc too.
Yeah, it's a game changer, right? You're like, hey, you can a minute of man target from 0
That's why I like those take
to 400 on 1-0 works. It's a very interesting topic, but I also think that that's one of the successes of the AR platform is the flatter trajectory versus,
I think it's made it
7.62 by
easier to
39.
teach middle distance marksmanship to people who don't have the mental capacity to understand ballistics.
Yeah, or math.
Yeah,
Like
or
basic math or
Yeah.
even like range estimation.
And I think that it's funny, right, when we talk about people where they gravitate when they get into shooting, like there's going to be people that get into long range shooting only because they like math.
Yeah.
They enjoy the process of calculating where the bullet's going to go at a long range. And there's people that are just like, man, I'm never going to learn that.
All right. So if you're curious, AR curious, if you will, how do you wrap that up? I would say one, figure out what you want to do with a rifle and think of the rifle as a system. So it's rifle, magazines, optic, ammo. Ammo and optic, I think, are really important to stick together. And then figure out the type of shooting that you really want to end up doing a lot of and come up with a training plan and curriculum for that.
Well, I don't.
Well, not a curriculum.
Yeah, not a
You're going to seek the training and training
Seek the
plan.
training.
Yeah. You're going to seek that.
I was like, woo,
But what you want to do, is going to drive, like, if you want to shoot rifles at pistol distance, go find a badass pistol caliber carbine USPSA guy, and he's going to teach you how to shoot that thing really fast at pistol distance. If you want to shoot middle engagements, that's probably like a varmint hunter guy or, modern day sniper, I'm sure has some stuff for that. And then if you want to do the PRS thing or shoot longer, there's loads of guys teaching long range.
Yep, 100%.
But I think viewing the AR as a system when you are AR curious right out of the gate and being like, I need to pair my ammo with the optic, with the barrel length, and pick which gun and magazine. It's going to be a Magpul magazine, but pick the gun that I'm going to shoot, and like that's how you start to build the platform.
I think that if people can identify what they want to do period, it's going to help. I think that it's also worth looking for instructors that have loaner guns.
Yeah.
So you don't have to go out and invest in something that's the wrong thing to begin with. And remember, it's buy once, cry once. Just because it's a very affordable platform doesn't mean that you're not going to want to upgrade it later. You're going to want to upgrade no matter what you buy anyway. But in the gun world, quality is very closely mated with price to a point. So don't be immediately scared of the price tag, but also don't go out and buy a $400 AR and expect that it's going to do everything that you want it to do.
It's like what, $2,000 for a decent AR?
I think you can probably get into a decent AR without an optic for $1,500, and then
$1,500 to $2,000.
$2,000 with a decent optic is going to get you what you want to do for an extended period of time. Guys, like and subscribe, follow along, see what we're going to talk about next.